Breakfast, where we give you a hearty serving of insider tips and business strategies to help fuel your day so you can thrive in the construction industry. Now, here's your host, Tip Top Tim Fitch.
And welcome to the next episode of the Construction Big Breakfast. And I'm Tip Top Tim Fitch, and I've got a very, very special guest today, Salman Khan.
Hello.
And Salman Khan is from the Toronto Global, and you will hear a little bit more about that later in the discussion. But Salman, just to get things rolling, I always ask my guests, what did you have for breakfast?
Sure, I was this morning, I was Pret a Manger, you know what? Pret a Manger is my go-to-go. It's quick, it's fast, and so I can't really remember what I had for breakfast. Just coffee and maybe a muffin.
Coffee and a muffin,
Yeah.
Salman, come on.
Yes.
Well, I can tell you what I had, because I ordered something special. I go to there's a cafe near our office, so I had a little meeting with Cameron earlier this morning. I had beans on toast with poached eggs and bacon.
Very English.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. What I've found travelling the world is cuisine's not our strong suit, but we are good at breakfasts.
Well, when I'm in London, the best part is the food. You can get any kind of food all over the world, any cuisine in London. And I guess it's also because I usually stay around Trafalgar Square, but that is a really multicultural, very diverse area, and any kind of cuisine you want, you can find it there.
That's right. We'll come back to Trafalgar Square later in the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Salman, let's just talk about Toronto Global,
Sure.
which is how we met, wasn't
Yes,
it?
we did.
Must have been about just over a year ago.
It was. So Toronto Global is based in Toronto, Canada, and we're a government-funded agency, funded by all three levels of government: the federal government of Canada, the province of Ontario, and the Toronto region, municipalities, of which there are about 24. And our mandate is foreign investment attraction. So that means we work with established international companies like yours that are looking to expand outside of their home markets. And for a variety of reasons, it could be to find bigger market share, it could be to find talent, it could be reduced costs. And my job is to put Toronto top of mind of these companies when they're thinking about crossing the pond. Generally, if you're a European or UK-based company and you want to expand to North America, you would think about New York or Chicago or Boston or the West Coast. However, my job is to put Toronto in that top 5 place, so the decision makers in the UK also consider Toronto as one of the expansion locations. So that involves a lot of due diligence, obviously. So I work with decision makers to help them understand the Toronto market. What does the market opportunity look like? What are the benefits? What are the costs? What does the talent pipeline look like? And those sort of things to build a case for why Toronto makes sense. And we do competitive analysis. We can do data analysis between Toronto and other cities that you're considering. And if Toronto wins that case, then it's about operationalizing the expansion. So that includes, understanding how to build a legal entity, how to do the organizational structure, where to find the talent, connections to universities and colleges, accounting, taxes, how to bring senior executives based in the UK to Toronto, for example, to lead the organization. So those are the sort of things we do: due diligence, and then helping you actually expand physically into the Toronto region.
Yeah, I can remember some of those conversations we had sort of last June or July, I think it was, which is, literally we had the idea to enter the Canadian market in April last year.
Yes.
Came to me in a flash when I was in Vancouver with doing one of these for somebody else, funny enough, someone who I'd known, the only person I knew in Vancouver. And we had we made literally a podcast really for his business there to help him. So he taught me LinkedIn marketing as was a few years before. And right at the end we wrapped up, and he said, "Well, what's making the money now?" And I said, "Well, in the UK, we're doing these R&D tax credits, and they've just gone bonkers. We've got our core sort of strategy offering, which is fine, but this has fueled huge growth, and it's just been tremendous for everybody." And he just said, "Oh, we've got something that sounds like that here. We call it shred."
That's right.
Which you know, of course.
Yes.
And, I couldn't stop thinking about it on the way home on the plane with my family, and got back and we got one of the interns. I said, "Look, just get on Google and find out everything you can about this,
Right.
because it's something new for us."
Right.
We were worried about, we needed to diversify, put the
Right.
UK for all the reasons around Brexit and things like that.
Right.
Plus, there's no doubt that the R&D at the time was a perception around political risk. I don't think there is actually at the moment, but then there was that it could get turned down or something. So that we needed to go somewhere else to do
Right.
it or do something. And of course, had this idea. So by the end of April last year, we decided to enter the Canadian market, and we spent May developing the plan without
Right.
really ever hearing about Toronto Global. But part of implementing that plan, somebody suggested we meet up.
Right. And so it's been a bit more than a year. So how quickly have you progressed?
Right. So I think when we met was in June last
Yes.
year, and I just literally that day made some videos for
Right.
part of an online marketing campaign.
Right.
But I'd also just met a guy who's now an associate of ours, a guy called Stephen Bald, and we did a deal for him to do some introductions for me.
Right.
And I went back the following month in July. So we've made all the online stuff, all the clever stuff, using LinkedIn
Right.
as a lead generator, driving people to the website, there's a video on the website, sign up for a sales event in October. In reality, I came back in July, did 13 sales meetings, and 8 people said yes. And over the summer, we got 8 converted to 5 actual signed contracts. So in September we started, then in October we ran the sales event,
Right.
got 3 more hot leads, 2 of which converted. We started those in January, and then
Right.
in December when we were around, we went to the trade, one of those construction trade events, and we picked somebody up there. So by end of January we had about 8 signed up clients.
That's
And we've been
amazing.
implementing those now. Then of course you helped us find the lawyers for the legal entity
Right.
and the accountants and
Right.
all that stuff. So the business is properly incorporated now. We've got revenue, we've got cash coming into our
Right.
Canadian bank account, Bank of Montreal, and invoices are going out,
Right.
and all that sort of stuff. And as I think it was just before we started, I said to you that literally just this week we have signed a partnership agreement with the Canadian Construction Association to become their preferred sort of partner for doing SR and ED or shred credits for
Right.
Canadian construction businesses.
That's a
Who
big
we've got.
achievement.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Literally 18 months after having the idea. So last month we were in Ottawa meeting up with Mary and her team, and of course every day now we're developing a lot of marketing material with them to help them. Really what they're trying to do, it's a very worthy thing, is to get more money
Right.
into innovation for construction,
Yeah.
because you've got a vibrant industry. But the industry, from the discussions we've had, that the industry senses that it's a bit behind the curve,
Mm-hmm.
and it is.
Right.
But so the idea is we can get the tax credits into the system because it's woefully underclaimed
Right.
in Canada. Although the Canadian system is generous compared with the UK, construction hasn't been claiming I'll say it's fair share, what it's entitled to.
Right.
And for the same reasons we found in the UK, people in construction are modest. They
Right.
think modestly about what they do, which is a virtue
Right.
in a way. But of course, it's actually a barrier
Right.
when you've actually got to ask for the money.
Yeah.
So that's part of our job, is to educate people that you are being innovative.
Right.
You are doing stuff day to day,
Right.
which
You can claim.
the CRA or the federal government says
Yeah.
in their definition is research and development. And that's the key, because
Right.
it's defined in a tax code that is
Right.
written by tax people for tax people.
Right.
And people who do the meat and potatoes in construction clearly haven't read it.
Right.
Why would they? And if they have read it, they wouldn't understand it, because it's not written using language they understand. So when we first came across it, it took me about a year to get my head around it and really understand what it meant for construction. Because I spent my life on the technical side and the operational side in construction, but of course I've never read that. So it's almost bringing those two domains of knowledge together. Of course, where they overlap, cries a pot of gold there for somebody.
Right.
So that's really what we're doing. Now, the interesting thing is, and we'll come back to this later, is that the whole R&D tax thing was invented in Canada in the early 80s. And eventually we picked up on it. It took us 15 years. But other countries around the world have done the same. So it now becomes a platform on which countries compete for inward investment.
Right. It's
that is an advantage for Canada.
It is. It's one of the most popular programs for companies that are thinking about doing R&D in Canada. For Canadian controlled corporations, it can be over 50% of the investment, which is quite significant. However, even if you're a foreign controlled corporation, it can range, you probably know this better than I do, maybe 15 to 30%, but that's generally where
it's typically around 18 in Ontario.
Yeah.
And of course, that compares with 12% for a large company in the UK.
Yeah.
So even for a foreign-owned business operating in Ontario, it's 50% better than the UK.
Yeah,
the UK is okay, but when I say it's okay, it's compared with a lot of places.
Right.
But Canada's much more generous.
Right.
And so I think for Canadian, we're interested in construction. The Canadian construction industry is a massive opportunity to get some money in and innovate to the next level.
Yeah, I was just looking up some information on the construction industry. Apparently it's the 5th largest construction industry globally. And,
wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Just to give you the statistics I know, I mean, if you compare with the UK, the Canadian economy is about half the UK, the population is about half.
Right.
The construction's about half, is 7 or 8% of the total economy,
Right.
so what you're telling me doesn't surprise me.
And we are, as in Canada is going to construction boom. I mean, modern Canada was built in the 50s and 60s, where you have the universities and hospitals and highways and this and that. But now I think there's another boom in place. In 2017, the federal government announced a 12-year budget of about $180 billion of investment in construction and infrastructure and all this. And 7% of the working age population in Canada works in the construction industry. And 7% is also the GDP contribution of the construction industry into Canada. It's quite a sizable industry.
It's probably number 2. I don't know whether the biggest one in Canada is probably oil and gas or minerals or something like that, or agriculture. It's number 2 in the UK after healthcare.
Right.
The NHS is that's the biggest thing now. But and I think that's an interesting story for our UK listeners and viewers, because what I've seen, because I come from an infrastructure background, so I'm very interested in what's happening on the railways, the metro system in Toronto, where there's the massive money being invested, and it needs it, because you just need more of it. And there's a lot of Brits now working in Toronto because there's a shortage of expertise. There's a shortage of because now you've got such a ramp up. You've got to get it from somewhere. And of course, there's big opportunities. So that means big opportunities for UK Brits who want to move out, but also I think there's big opportunity for UK-based businesses to not just us on the periphery, but if you're into engineering or actual construction, particularly around the railways, the fact you've got the expertise about how to build stuff on a live railway is much in demand.
Yes, I've been seeing interest from railway engineering companies, urban design, architecture companies looking at the different big projects happening in Ontario. One of them being the Pearson Airport extension. I mean, today the Pearson Airport handles about 50 million passengers. but by 2043 they're expecting that to be at 110 million. So they need to be able to scale the existing infrastructure and be able to add capacity to be able to handle that sort of volume. The other big construction obviously is the Toronto Transit Commission, the subway, which here you call it the Tube. It's there's several different projects within the TTC in play as we speak, so they all need expertise in design, in engineering, and architecture, and it's a great opportunity for UK businesses to get out there and learn about the different projects available. Another recent development in the last year has been the Canada Infrastructure Bank that you might have heard about. They have about $35 billion worth of seed money, which are out there to attract private investors to come and work with the Infrastructure Bank and local, provincial, and municipal governments on projects that will, be good for the public. So this includes transportation, green infrastructure, broadband like 5G, and and transit. So those businesses listening, they should certainly go out there, do a little bit more research on the Canadian Infrastructure Bank and how you can work with them in order to win projects across Canada.
Yeah, that should be really interesting for our viewers, because I can't get across how much obvious money there is that's being invested in infrastructure, and that the expertise about how to do it, there's just not enough people there. It's such an expansion, and obviously, as I say, rail's my thing, but I was actually did technical stuff. I've met British businesses that are there already, and they've won very substantial contracts without having any local track record, because they clearly have got something to contribute. And you can say, look, and bring that, the way of working around large railways that we know from the UK, our UK experience, and we can apply it here and overcome problems which everyone's scratching their head how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's exciting times, I think. It's exciting times.
I agree.
So how long are you in the UK for this visit?
6 days. It's day 5. I leave tomorrow, so I was here on Saturday morning. I'm here to meet with UK-based companies that are interested in learning more about expanding to the Toronto region. There are different stages of their life cycle of expansion. Some are just starting to learn about what's happening in the Toronto region. Others have decided now they just need to do a little bit more due diligence. Others are on their way, so they need help operationalizing. So it's exciting times. I think the businesses here are now starting to realize the opportunity that the Toronto region offers in terms of acting as a North American hub.
Yeah, and that's what's so exciting, that there's all this activity going on to try and get us Brits over to Toronto. It must be a bit harder this time of year, because the temperature's beginning to drop, because there are some issues, aren't there?
There are some issues. We haven't said the B word yet, but certainly there is a level of slowness in decision making, or putting decisions on hold, or leaving them past 31st of October. Who knows what happens at that date? But despite the fact, there's still some companies in our pipeline that are still exploring, and they might have put the decision on hold. But the other side of Christmas, I think we can expect things to get moving.
Okay, that's really good. We just had the 2-minute warning from Sarah. Now, just a couple of things you've got to explain. You're wearing a tuxedo, or a dinner jacket, as we'd say in London, and I'm not yet. Yes. But this evening, Sam's coming as a guest of mine to a livery dinner. For those that may not know, the livery companies in the City of London are ancient, mostly institutions, and they're essentially fellowship clubs for people of like mind. So the one we're going to tonight is the Workshop Company of Constructors,
Yes.
and we are installing our new master
Right.
as we speak. It's being done now. So the new master that you'll meet this evening is Sir Vivian Ramsey, who used to be, he was a judge, but he used to be the chief judge of the technology court, so he used to do all of the construction disputes and things like that.
Very interesting.
When he had his main career. So that's why Salman came prepared. He's got his tuxedo or dinner jacket on. I'll be changing him shortly. And just to wrap up, I saw on LinkedIn that you're at the Canadian Embassy at a function. Was it Monday night?
Yes, Monday night. It was exciting times. Mayor of Toronto, John Tory, was in London for a couple of days, and he hosted a reception in the evening to invite potential investors to learn about what's happening in the city of Toronto and why they should invest there. It was a great event. He's a great ambassador for Toronto.
Yeah.
He sells it really well, and we had a great time, and lots of businesses showed up to learn about Toronto.
And coincidentally, because I saw your post on LinkedIn, the following night, one of our employees, in fact, just met him,
Yes.
Al-Khattab.
Right.
He was nominated for one of the Community Sponsorship Awards,
Very good.
which the awards evening was hosted in Canada House on Tuesday night. And this is another import from Canada. That we were slow to come to the party. This whole community support program started in Canada apparently decades ago, which is to help refugees settle.
Okay.
And anyway, Allah is, I didn't know this, but he is a pretty big name in the UK. He's Syrian.
Right.
And he'd been nominated by some people from Devon, which is somewhat, this is where my brother lives, in the West Country,
Right.
in a little village called Ottery St Mary.
Okay.
You want to look them up on YouTube, because they've got some very strange, what's the words, rituals that they go through this time of year.
Okay.
With flaming barrels of tar on their back.
Sounds exciting.
On Guy Fawkes night.
Right.
But he'd helped a Syrian family settle there, and anyway, cut a long story short, he won. He won his category. So we had a very great evening. It was a really great evening.
Right.
So thanks very much, Salman. We've both been to the Canadian Embassy this week, and we've had a very good chat today. I just hope everyone's enjoyed this episode. We'll be back in a week or two's time, and keep eating those breakfasts.
Is your business feeling blue? Don't ignore it. A business is like the human body. It is a complex set of interdependent parts, each with their own role and purpose. When all those parts work together, the body thrives. But when something goes wrong, things can go awry. And like the human body, a business can't perform at its best until everything is working like a well-oiled machine. That is why we developed the Invennt Business Health Check. Using our process, we have been able to set countless construction businesses on the path to good health, and offering the guidance and encouragement of a personal trainer, we support you throughout the entire process. We provide clear and concise guidance to address the specific difficulties your business faces, so you can begin to take corrective action. Thanks for joining us this week on the Construction Big Breakfast. Make sure to visit our website, www.invennt.com, where you can subscribe to the Construction Big Breakfast on all platforms, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a positive rating. Or if you'd simply share it with a friend, that would help us out too. Be sure to tune in for our next episode.